The Federal and Pedesta Hospital jointly present the Kanyakumari Marathon 2025. This event is co-presented by Rojavanam International School. Run for Health on Sunday, May 4. Entry is free and all are welcome.
Hello and welcome. My name is Sanket Upadhyay. You're watching this on the Federal. Waqf Bill has been passed by both the houses of Parliament, but it has now been challenged in court. And one such person who has done it is with me, Rajya Sabha MP, Mr. Kapil Sibal. Thank you very much for speaking to us. Yes. Mr. Sibal, what is your main contention against the Waqf Bill?
Well, it's entirely unconstitutional. It impacts on the fundamental rights of the Muslim community, which are protected under Article 25, 26 of the Constitution. You can only interfere in the secular activities of any religious denomination, but you can't interfere in their religious functions. And this directly impacts the right of the Muslim community to worship the way they like, where they like, how they like. And nobody can control that aspect. And it also takes over the administration of the Waqf, which should remain in the hands of the Muslim community. Previously it was also statutory, but now they have made it such that they will be in majority. And so therefore that too is unconstitutional. Like in Hindu endowments, all the nominees are Hindus, right? So also in other religious denominations. So to that extent, it's entirely unconstitutional. But apart from that, it's otherwise also, there are certain aspects of the Waqf which they could not have abolished, like Waqf by user. It is an established practice, and in the Ram Janam Bhoomi judgment itself, paragraph 1134, the Constitutional Bench of the Supreme Court has recognized the fact that Waqf by user is an established religious practice, and it's a matter of evidence that ultimately will have to be demonstrated about whether it was a Waqf by user or not. They have now said that no, there will be no Waqf by user in the future. The government has nor does the legislature have the right to say that. So these are issues which the court will have to decide.
So you're saying that the law itself is unconstitutional and must be struck down.
Yes.
This law must not exist.
Absolutely.
There is no need for a law like this. But if
The
you see
need is something that the government will decide and the legislature will decide. Constitutionality is something that the courts will decide. I mean, they needed money, so they had the bill which
electoral bonds.
Electoral bonds, which they needed the money. So you can't question the need. Poor people, they're very poor. Right?
A case which you fought in the Supreme Court and got it struck down.
Whether it's constitutional or not, the court will decide. बेचारे उस समय कम पैसा था, they needed it.
Mr. Sibal, why the government says there is a need for this Waqf amendment bill? They say that property is being usurped under the name of the Waqf board. Sometimes even government land, private land. It is being deliberately written in the name of the Waqf board. And all of this requires...
Deliberately written in the name, how do they know? Have they conducted any investigation? How do they know it is deliberately? If something was written 400 years ago, how do they know it was deliberately written? Absurd. Right? And the allegation that Waqfs make, it is the government that is encroached upon their land.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? So then who will decide that? They say a district collector. If it's a dispute between the government and the Waqf, it will be somebody slightly superior to the district collector. Let's assume, he's also a government nominee, so the government will be a judge in its own cause. The dispute is between government and Waqf, and the government will decide. And once the government says that it is not Waqf property and issues notice, the Waqf cannot continue its functions. Right? And then he decides, then that's final. I remember in Rajya Sabha, while I was there, the leader of the House said, previously the tribunal's decisions were final. And he made a very strong argument, how can that be? But this is the decision of the collector or the officer above him is also final.
But Mr. Sibal, if say the collector or a official higher up were to decide or come up with a decision which is not acceptable to the Waqf board, they then always have the option of a legal recourse, right?
There's no appeal there like that, because it's final, no? And the question is that, as you know, appeals, you can't file a writ petition because writ court cannot decide on facts, on disputed questions of fact. So you'll have to go to civil court or something like that. That also is very difficult. The jurisdictional issues will be raised. And so it will take years. So by the time the dispute is decided, some of us may not be there. So these are things that have happened to many litigants.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Especially in civil cases.
See, the whole purpose, this is nothing to do with the law. The whole purpose of this act is only to take forward the focused agenda of this government, which they have continued since 2014, to target a particular community for political benefit. So whether it's Love Jihad, Flood Jihad, Places of Worship Act, UCC, this law, people should give the ownership of restaurants must be displayed. People should not buy from vegetable vendors who belong to a particular community. Then there should be no meat. You cannot sell meat on Ram Navami, right? And in processions, they will, every day.
If you protest, your passport will be revoked.
So these are all. So this is part of an agenda. If you really want to reform institutions of this nature, then you actually must carry out those reforms in each religious denomination.
For example?
See, look, there is no institution in the world, anywhere in the world, that does not need reform. Is there any institution that runs perfectly? No institution.
I can say about the media, we need reform.
No, you don't. Why do you need reform? You're doing so well, you're earning so much money through ads and all. Why should you do it? But be that's Anyway, the point that I am making is that, look, there are many more major issues confronting the future of India. AI, reciprocal tariffs, education, health, MSME sector, growth issues. I mean, there are so many very serious issues. But this seems to be a priority for the government. And the priority is because it's politics. So it's very sad that we have come to this particular stage. And they are trying to control. And for example, now they've abolished, says madrasas have to be registered. Right? And they have stopped the scholarships that were given to the Muslim boys in many of these schools also. That also has been abolished. So there is an agenda of dominance, which is at the heart of their politics.
From what I understand, you're not saying that there should be no reform, but that reform should be uniform. It should be applicable. There should be reform of all institutions.
If you say one nation, one law, then you bring one law which deals with every institution. You say in Hindu endowments, there will be no non-Hindu who will be present. But here you will have at least 2 non-Muslims. Right, and the others will be nominated by you.
So you think this flies in the face of a uniform code?
No, you see, you have double standards because that's your politics. It's nothing to do with, actually there's a lot of reform required, especially how mutawallis behave. And in many situations, mutawallis have actually aggrandized wealth. Right, so it should be done. And we'll stand with the government, but that's not the agenda of the government. It's not the agenda.
So you're saying, while they say that the idea is reform, the idea is political.
No, it's not an idea. There's no question. The idea is political. The idea is toxic.
Okay.
Toxic in nature. They want to muddy the waters, pollute the environment of political discourse, right? And have the Muslim community being targeted on a daily basis so that they can get benefit from the Hindu vote. That's their idea.
So it's not to do with the upliftment or the reform in the Muslim
community. They want their own upliftment, that they have done. But the upliftment of others is not relevant. Right? But this Hindu anti-Muslim agenda is relevant.
So from what you say, do I deduct that this will not be the end of it? there will be
No, from
more in
their
this-
point of view, this will not be the end of it. There'll be something else that they will. In Parliament, they talk about triple talaq. See what I've done for triple talaq. I want to know from you. Do you know anybody amongst? After all, I've also lived. I'm over 70 now. Over 75. I have not seen a person, a Muslim, who has three wives or four wives. At least I don't know any. And I have not seen many, I have not know of any who is given triple talaq like this. There will be some, I'm not disputing that. But can't be a national agenda. But what about Hindu women who have conflict in the family, who are thrown out of the house? Daughters-in-law are thrown out of the house. In a way, it's as bad, if not worse, than triple talaq. Here he has to say triple talaq, talaq, talaq. There you don't have to say anything. You just to shut the door. They're not concerned about those Hindu women who go from pillar to post for years, fighting for their maintenance and for their custody. What happens? They are more concerned for that. But they will talk about Aurangzeb, triple talaq, history. They will bring up issues of history which have nothing to do with contemporary needs of the country. That's the sad part.
Are you hopeful that you'll get a
See, the
suitable
question-
verdict in your favor
we
in the
live on
Supreme
hope.
Court?
We hope that the media will also reform this. We all live on hope. We hope that within the legal community also most people will stand up, which they don't. We are also completely obsessed with making money. The whole purpose of the legal profession or of the media or of institutions in this country is to stand by the values of the Constitution. Nobody stands by those values today.
One question that I wanted to ask you, Mr. Sibal, is that you are not the only one who has gone in appeal in the Supreme Court. There are others too, and they're well within their right to do it. But do you fear that there could be a situation where these petitions start working at cross purposes?
I don't think so. In any case, the court knows how to deal with these multifarious litigations that have been filed. And they have done it in the past. They sort of devise a procedure through which only a few counsel can argue and other also can argue, but for a little while. So by and large, they don't allow repeat arguments to take place. And the compilations are made in such a way that the court it will be fairly convenient for the court to decide these matters as and when they wish.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Sibal. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Federal and Pedesta Hospital jointly present the Kanyakumari Marathon 2025. This event is co-presented by Rajya Sabha International School. Run for Health on Sunday, May 4. Entry is free and all are welcome.